اللعن الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين فاطر السماوات والأرضين ثم الصلاة على رسوله الكريم جد الحسن والحسين مولانا ومولى الثقلين بالقاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الغر الميامين المخجلين واللعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم من ليلنا هذا إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على أن الحسين باب من أبواب الجنة من عائد حرم الله ريح الجنة. Recite Salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. As you know, we are talking about the paradise and how we have to live our life in this world so we can get to the paradise, right? Because we have several hadiths, our life is not created for this world, or we are not created for this world forever. We have to go toward our final destiny. Our final destiny is hereafter. Hereafter there are two options available. One is no one like to go there. Another one, everyone like to go there, and which is paradise or Jannah. But ever we thought how much we are prepared every day in our life to collect enough good deeds to get to the paradise, or we have enough thawab, hasanat or good deeds to Allah accept them and we can get to the paradise. I said several things about it, inshallah, as we our Majalis progress and going more in detail. I will inshallah explain more about it. But I said yesterday, our first goal is to make our life good in this world. What was our conclusion from yesterday's Majlis? I said you have to make environment around you look like paradise. Be nice to others. Treat them nicely so Allah can treat you good in hereafter. And there are certain deeds, if you perform, Allah make house for you in paradise. What were the good deeds we have to perform? So Allah make house for us in paradise. If your house in paradise, you eventually entitled to go into your house and live there, and that make you to get to the paradise. And that is the one reason I said you yesterday. The first is someone raise an orphan. Allah make house for him in paradise. This first deed you have to perform. If you get older, get chance to support someone, especially the person who lost his father, he do not have any support. If you support him, Allah support you in hereafter. Second thing, if you are nice to your parents, right? If you treat them nicely, Allah give you great reward in this world, and Allah going to give you reward in hereafter, right? Let me give you one very nice story and very famous story so you can understand how the prayer of parents useful for us to get to the paradise. Recite Salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. He said, at the time of Musa, one very simple, normal person living his life pious and good, and he had a very old mother, right? One day Musa asked from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he was Kalimullah, he talked to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One day he asked, oh Allah, when I go to the paradise, who is going to live with me? And then Hazrat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered Hazrat Musa, that person, his address is this one. He is going to be your friend and your neighbor in the paradise. And Musa become curious. He say, okay, I have to go and learn about him, what good deed he is performing. So he is going to be my neighbor in Jannah. You see, because this is a great reward for him And Musa want to know what was the reason, what good deeds he's performing, so he's going to live with him in paradise. So Musa became curious and he searching for him. Actually he found him. When he found him, he asked him, are you willing to accept me as a guest? I want to be your guest. And at that time people really love to have a guest in their house, because having guest is a big honor and great reward behind it. So Musa offered his the wish, and the person accepted. He said, sure, you be my guest, I like to host you to come with me, because I have to close my shop. He was he was selling meat. He has a meat shop. So he said, okay, just wait, let me finish my work and I will let you to go in my house and we will stay there. Recite salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. As soon as Musa reached there, he was waiting. He finished his work, he closed his shop, he brought Hazrat Musa to his house, and when they came to the house, he was start cooking for Musa. When he finished his cooking, he asked Musa, please wait, we cannot eat right now, I have to do one important work and task, then I will come and we eat together. So Musa was waiting. What Musa saw, he went inside the special room and he was doing something. But after a short while, he came back to the Musa. Musa asked, what you was doing? After cooking food and I was waiting for you to eat together. He said, I have very old mother. She cannot sit herself, she cannot walk, she cannot even eat by herself. So at that time, actually, I was feeding him by my own hand. I washed her, I bathed her, I gave her help, all the type of help. And especially, I feed myself to her. After feeding, I eat myself. You see, then Musa asked, that's a good task you perform. Then he asked a question for Musa. What he asked? He asked for Musa, I have question, I don't know. My mother is always give me one dua. She pray for me. But her prayer is something I don't understand. And he said, what she pray for you? And the person said, she pray for me, Allah make you the friend of Hazrat Musa. And I never understand why she gave this dua to me, or she pray for me like that, because Musa is a great prophet. He don't live here. Then how can I become his friend? Then Musa disclosed his identity. He said, oh, your mother's prayer accepted. Allah accepted your mother's prayer in your favor. Not only accepted, but you understand, I am the Musa. I came to you to inform you. You are not only my friend in this world, but you're going to live with me in hereafter. You're going to be my neighbor in paradise. Recite salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So when you help your mom or dad and you do something good for them, they always pray for you. And your parents' prayer accepted in eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so fast. How is accepted? You see, there is hadith about it. What is hadith? Like Allah accept the prayer of Prophet in favor of their ummah, Allah accept the parents' prayer in favor of their kids. Allah never refuse the prayer of Prophet in favor of his ummah. So Allah never refused the prayer of parents in favor of his kids. Parents always pray for you, but you have to encourage them. You have to do something good for them, so they pray for you, and Allah make you successful in this world and hereafter. So I said another thing, Allah make house for you in paradise if you be nice to your parents, and that's the opposite side. If a person, he is not nice to his parents, or parents like they disown him, then he not going to even smell the fragrance of paradise for 500 light years. You've seen that like the PowerPoint where they are actually giving you the measurement, like calculation, and that is so difficult to understand what is the 500 light years distance is. No one can travel that far, but person going to be remain that far from Jannah. But today I gave you the other hadith. What is the hadith is? Recite loud salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Recite 2-3 times loud salawat because Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Recite one more salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So from there, today we have a special thing to discuss, and I got a special hadith for you. And that hadith is very important to understand what Prophet said about Imam Hussain. Because these days we have to commemorate the Shahadat of Imam Hussain. For that, we have to learn about him. And this is a good thing. Our subject is paradise. So we have to learn Imam Hussain related to the door of paradise. This is a very nice, beautiful hadith. Ala wa anna al-Hussain baba min abwabil jannah man aida haramallahu alayhi rihal jannah. That is the hadith. I got it for you. Prophet said. What Prophet said? Imam Hussain is one of the door of paradise. Who is Imam Hussain is one of the door of paradise. Whoever become enemy of Imam Hussain, Allah will make the fragrance, smell of paradise haram upon him. That is the hadith. What is the opposite of that? If someone become good friend of Imam Hussain, he not only going to smell the fragrance of paradise, but he going to enter from that door into the paradise. I was studying, inshallah one day if I get chance, there was 40 great advantage you receive if you recite the ziyarat of Imam Hussain or visit him in Karbala, right, and become his zawar, right, to visit his grave there and recite ziyarat there. The 40 great rewards I just recently read. Inshallah, I'm going to translate for you sometime and we're going to learn. But today my subject is about why Imam Hussain is one of the door of paradise and how we get closer to Imam Hussain so we can get closer to the paradise. That is the main thing we're going to discuss today. But you see, our concept is very much upon three things. One is we have to make this world look like paradise, right? Our surrounding must be similar to the paradise by our attitude, by our like the helping others, by our so many things. Second things, we have to perform good deeds so we can make the first stage after death is our grave become the part of paradise. That is the second thing. We are discussing how we make our grave a comfortable place to live after death. That is the barzakh place. Before we enter into hereafter and get the shafaat ahlul bayt and go to the paradise. But this is the first thing we have to discuss. So I gave you one example yesterday. The grave is a difficult place, but we can make it part of paradise if we perform good deeds. So today I am going to give you another story, which is also very famous story when we said the ziyarat, how much benefit we receive, and that is the way to get closer to Imam Hussain. Because when we recite the ziyarat, we send salam to Imam Hussain, right? And saying salam is mustab, but answering is wajib. So whenever I must send salam to Imam Hussain, that is the reason we get blessing from Imam Hussain. When we say, peace be upon you, O Hussain, Imam Hussain answered us, peace be upon all you, my follower. You see, our tongue is not that like the clean or much have effect, but Imam Hussain is masoom, he is infallible. When he says something, Allah not going to refuse. So saying salam after every prayer is highly recommended. Don't miss it. To say salam to them. Why? Because when you send salam to them, many blessings shower upon you. This is one of things. I gave you one story yesterday. They have a similar story like that. One of the two friends, they were living together and they asked from each other, okay, when you died or one of us died, we're going to come and give us what happened in our grave after our death. And they promised from each other, and both friends were leaving. After some time, one of them died. After their death, other friend was waiting to hear something from him. For a long time, he didn't hear anything. After a long time, suddenly he saw that person came to his dream, and he said, the person who was alive, he asked, why you are too late? Why you didn't come the first night or second night after a few days? You come after several days, after several weeks or several months. Why that late? Why you are not? Then the person, he came in his dream, the person was died. He said, reason was that I was not allowed to leave my place. I was confined at the grave. I was in prison. I have no freedom to go anywhere. So why you then, how you got freed? Why you get the freedom today to come to visit me? You say, today the special thing happened in our graveyard. And that cause we all get freed from our grave, and now we are free, we can go anywhere we want. Our ruh can go anywhere we want. You see what happened in your grave? You say that was the special thing. You say one of the person in our town, he or she died, and when the people brought him in our graveyard and buried near our graves after the funeral, after the burial, everyone left, and we saw Imam Hussain came with his friends to visit the grave of that lady. And as soon as Imam Hussain entered with his friends in the graveyard, Allah ordered to all the angels to remove the punishment from whole graveyard. We were in punishment, we were in prison, we were not allowed to go anywhere. As soon as that lady buried in that graveyard, Allah left the punishment from all the people they were living, or they were like buried in that graveyard. The person become curious. He said, this is the thing, very much unique. I have to find out what she was doing. So Imam Hussain visited him, and not only visited him, she get benefit. Not only she got the benefit, but all other people they buried with her in that graveyard, they all benefited. Then person become curious. One of his friend was alive. He said, okay, first he visited the graveyard, found that there is a newly built grave is there. Then he was looking, asked from the people who died recently, and he got the address and went there. He found the husband of that lady, and he asked a question. You say, your wife died? He says, yes, my wife died recently, yesterday. You see, then he explained his dream. You see, we were two friends, we were promised to each other after death, we're going to inform what's going to happen after death, and I saw this dream. I want to know what your wife was performing in her life that caused Imam Hussain visit him here. And also, by visiting Imam Hussain, all people got relief, and the punishment was pardoned. They got freed from their grave. They can go where they want. They can go where they want. The person answered, my wife have one unique task. She perform every day. She never misses a single day without reciting. Some riwayat says Ziyat Ashura, some riwayat says Ziyat Waritha. Every day she pray to Rakat Namaz and go on her roof and then face toward the grave of Imam Hussain and recite the ziyarat. Because she was sending salam every day to Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain never left her alone. Imam Hussain visit her, and by visiting Imam Hussain, she get benefit. Not only she got the benefit, but all other people they buried in that graveyard, they get benefit. So you know, that is the hadith saying, Ala anna al-Hussain bab min al-Awwab al-Jannah. Means, if Imam Hussain can give the shafaat and help in this world, in the grave, then Imam Hussain actually going to give the help in hereafter. And you get benefit if you are actually committed to your deeds. You are actually performing something for sake of Imam Hussain al-Islam. Imam Hussain is not going to leave you alone in this world, not in the grave, not in hereafter. because we may forget sometime Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain is so high, he's not going to forgive us. He's going to forget us. He's going to always help us and give us help. You see, there's the other thing, because we were discussing Jannat, did it exist or is Allah going to create it? And we said this exists. I have like the two reasons to give you, inshallah, today, to give you more detail tomorrow about it. You see, Imam Hussain have one more unique title from Prophet. What Prophet said to Imam Hussain? Prophet said, Al-Hasan wal-Hussain Sayyiday Shabab Ahlil Jannah. What does it mean? Means Al-Hasan wal-Hussain, Imam Hussain, both are chief of youth of paradise. Means all the youth, they live in the paradise. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain are their masters, their chief. They're going to live in Jannah under their supervision. There's a good message behind it. If we accept Al-Hasan wal-Hussain, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain as the Imam in this world, then Allah give you chance to live under their supervision and they're like the Imamat in the paradise. But you can ask one good question, because when they are chief of like the youth of paradise, then who going to be like the chief of old people? Right? This is a good thing to listen. Our Prophet sometimes make like we can say like, make people happy, so they don't feel very much like the bored. So one day, an old lady came to the Prophet and said, "Oh Prophet, can we old people enter into paradise?" And Prophet said, no old people go to the paradise. No old people going to enter into paradise. And that old lady was left the Prophet and she started crying. Oh, I have become old, I am going to die, and I will not enter into paradise. When she was crying, she come to the Prophet, visit him. She said, why are you crying? You say, because you said the old people are not going to enter into paradise, and I am old, so how can I enter into paradise? Prophet said, I didn't say you're not going to enter into paradise. I said old people not going to enter into paradise. You say, I am old, that is meaning. You say, I never said you're not going to enter into paradise. I say old people not going to enter into paradise. And she says, I am old. That's meaning I am not going to enter paradise. You say, no. Whoever is old, before they enter into paradise, Allah going to make them young. That is my meaning. I'm not saying you, no old person going to enter paradise. Old means if old people go to into paradise, how can they going to enjoy the benefits of paradise, all the facility of the paradise? Because you see a person is diabetic, how can he enjoy like the sweet here? Because he's old, he has so many diseases. So you're going to cure first, then enter into paradise. And oldness is one of the diseases. So Allah going to cure you first, make you beautiful, happy, handsome, and young. Then you're going to enter into paradise. The only people going to be have the chief is Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. That's the story. You can listen and keep in your mind. So Al-Hasan wal-Hussain Sayyid al-Shabab alayhi salam. I give one more example, inshallah, because you are youth, young, you understand these things, and very useful for you to understand that. We are discussing this thing with is very, very important, like the facts you have to keep in your mind. There are many, like the religion, they are bombarding on your mind, they are converting your views toward their side, and they're giving something. I seen recently, like some years ago, I kept in my car a long time, like some of the pamphlet distributed by some Christian missionary. They're saying the hell and heaven is this world, there is no hell and heaven actually exists. And they're saying so many things about it. I read whole article, but that's not true. But some of like the scholars, they are not much, have the very much like the respect in Islam, but they said that thing too. But our most of the like the prominent new Shia scholars, they believe heaven and hell already created, because Prophet visited during his journey or heavens in Miraj. But I give you one more like the good reason to believe in that. Okay, this is a very famous story you may have heard, but this linked you toward the subject whatever I am discussing and try to convince you. What is the subject? You have to say how we get to the paradise and who are entitled to take us there. Right? And one day Imam Hussain was very young youth, right? Like you, 5-6-year-old. And the day of Eid was close, right? And all the people they living in the Medina, they were actually getting new clothes, but there was no sign of new clothes in the house of Bibi Fatima. So Imam Hussain came to the Bibi Fatima, asked, where is our cloth, my mother? And Bibi Fatima said one word, your clothes are at the shop of tailor. Tailor has your clothes. But they want to comfort Imam Hussain. They were living a very simple life. They were not actually had much sustenance. So Imam Hussain remained quiet and said, okay, they are waiting. You see, next day was Eid. In the morning, someone knocked on their door. And someone knocked on their door. Door opened up. One person was standing, and he is carrying beautiful new clothes and handing over to the Bibi Fatima. What he said? He said, Ana Khayyatul Hasanain, means I am the tailor of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain. But there was no actually he was not actually tailor, because the Bibi Fatima said that thing, Allah sent a Rizwan Jannat, means the servant of Jannat, angel, to come on the earth and deliver the cloth of paradise to Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain. So if there was no paradise, how come the Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain get the cloth of paradise from paradise for them, and they wear this cloth and become happy? The person came from the paradise and he delivered cloth to the Bibi Fatima Zahra Salam Salah. He is supposed to say, I am the angel, or I am the servant of the paradise. It is one Jannat. I brought the cloth from paradise. He said no, because whatever the Bibi Fatima said, she was the truthful one. So her word must be relate to his saying. So he said, I am the Khayyatul Hussain. I am tailor of Imam Hussain, because this is more the pride for me to become the tailor of Imam Hussain, because many people live in paradise and they are servant of the paradise. It's much honor for me if I become the servant of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Last part today is inshallah, and we conclude our majlis. One more incident happened when the cloth came from paradise. This is the belief we have. The Jannat is created and is under the construction, is beautifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for their believers. As much as you do good deeds, the part of Jannat going to be beautified. Allah creates so many things for you according whatever you did, you perform. But I'm relating with Imam Hussain, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, how Jannat is related to them. Right? One day, this is a very famous story you heard several times maybe, but I can relate with you. So many young youth here are sitting in my majlis, they must listen that thing and learn, because when you are coming here, if I always discuss some new things, you miss the very famous part, and when they discuss, you may not aware of that, whatever they are discussing. One day, one Yehudi guy, he living in the Medina, he was neighbor of Prophet and his family. He had a special occasion in his house. His daughter was getting married. So he invited the Bibi Fatima Salamullah to come and visit his house on that occasion. But his intention was not good. His intention was bad. What was his intention? His intention was to convince the people of his belief. You see, when Bibi Fatima wear a very simple cloth, his cloth have like so many patches, right? So when Bibi Fatima come with this simple cloth in the marriage occasion, and all Yahudi people, they are wearing very nice and beautiful clothes, he like to say to his people, you see, no, Bibi Fatima is daughter of the Prophet. Prophet is the highest rank among the Muslim. Like the believe, when his daughter have that life, if you become Muslim, you're supposed to live like that. So if you like to live luxurious life, remain Yahudi, don't become Muslim. That was the message he want to convey to his people. So he want to give wrong message. So he was inviting Bibi Fatima, not for the respect, not for the neighboring relationship, but he was inviting to convince his people for something against Islam. Allah know that thing. Bibi Fatima, Ahlul Bayt know that thing. Bibi Fatima first get the permission from his father and his husband, Imam alayhi salam, and then she prayed, oh my Lord, I'm going as a kaniz, as a like slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the house of that Yahudi. Right? So if I go and I have no good clothes, because my mother donated all her wealth for sake of Islam. As soon as she prayed, Allah sent the Hur from Jannah, my servant from Jannah, and she brought a beautiful cloth from Jannah for Bibi Fatma. Because the fragrance of paradise is so much beautiful. You cannot even bear the smell in this world. So when Bibi Fatma worn that cloth, and she entered into the house of that Yahudi. The smell was so strong, so beautiful, they cannot control themselves, or they have very much different effect on them. What was the effect? The most of the people, due to that special smell, they got unconscious. But the effect of smell was much larger on the bride. She died immediately. When Fatma entered in the house, all people were surprised, say, oh, most of the people are unconscious due to that smell of fragrance, because the cloth came from the Jannah. Bibi Fatma wanted to show them, no, if you believe in the Islam, you will get better life in hereafter, not maybe in this world, but hereafter going to be much better than this world. That was the message Bibi Fatma wanted to convince to them and convey to them. And then Bibi Fatma said, oh, after some time they all get conscious, but they found the bride is dead. So how can they celebrate? Because the occasion of marriage not going to move forward, because the person who wants to marry, she is not alive anymore. Bibi Fatma don't want to give this wrong message. You see, I came in the house, and due to my the presence in this house, that bad thing happened. So she spread her musalla, prayed the salat, and asked from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, I entered this house. If that thing is going to happen, they're going to blame me. So please help us. Allah never refused the prayer of Bibi Fatma Zahra, and that lady was dead. She remained alive. But when she remained alive, become alive, what she say? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. She become alive by reciting the kalama of Islam. Means she was giving witness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, witness of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all the people accepted the Islam because they saw that miracle by their eyes. Many people from the Yehudi family, they become Muslim. So when Bibi Fatma entered in the house with the cloth of paradise, the effect of that cloth or smell was so blessed. They become Muslim by then. So that is it. But there was no paradise. How can the cloth come from there? 2 times the cloth came from paradise for Imam Hussain. Also cloth came for the Bibi Fatma Zahra Salamullah. And these 2 stories are very famous story, written in all the Muslim books, and they are good reason for us to have that idea that Allah created the heaven and hell, and these are the stories are actually giving the status of Ahlul Bayt too. But again, the main thing is these days are related to Imam Hussain. We could learn about him more, and as I said, Imam Hussain is one of the door of paradise. If we get closer to him, we get closer to paradise. Even though we learn, inshallah, I will explain more about the Imam Hussain and relation of the paradise. Even the place is, our 7th Imam said, recite salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Karbala, the land of Karbala, is actually the piece of paradise. This actually belongs for paradise. And you can see I have several evidence for that. Inshallah, I don't have time today to discuss about it. But inshallah, maybe in next Majalis, I am going to discuss about it. This unique thing, you test yourself. I give you one example. So, you're young and youth, understand that thing. You have several times, you normally use the mohor, right? Takhti, you can say takhti or mohor or sajdaga, right? For prayer, right? We have 2 types of the mohor. One is from Karbala, one is from other places. You can make, perform your sajda on anything which is permissible. Best is to perform the sajda on the Mohur of Karbala, right? So if you have any other like the Mohur, any other like the sajda from any other places, if you smell, right, you're not going to feel a special fragrance, special smell. Because normally when you mix the mud, right, into water, a beautiful smell come out, right? You ever like the test it or have experience of it? But when you put the water inside the like the dry, like the dust or dry like the mud, then you can hear that thing. But if you smell the sajdaga of Imam Hussain without putting water, you're going to smell that. That is the special like quality Allah gave to the land of Karbala. Go today and you smell yourself. When you, because right now they're mixing with other things, they are not collecting from the close place of like the grave of Imam Hussain. But this is one thing, remember, I seen myself, and you can maybe go some places where they have, if you find the actual dirt of Karbala, right, Karbala from actual grave, which is not possible right now because the grave is completely like the protected. But long time ago when people were actually getting that advantage to get the dirt from the closest place of Imam Hussein's grave, if you find anywhere true grave, true like the dust or like the things from the Karbala, on 10th of the Ashura, after like the day of Ashura began, as soon as they go by, right, get closer to the Asr afternoon, right, you see that dirt turning like blood, changing its color automatically as soon as it's close to the Shahadat of Imam Hussain. Close to the Shahadat of Imam Hussain is Asr time, right, around 3 o'clock of this time when you open your faqa, right. If you go and see that dust at the time, you're going to find it's completely red like blood. Why? Because Allah gave this special miraculous effect to that thing. And we can observe today, if you can find anywhere today, they have several places, these things. If you visit and see, you're going to find if that dust is showing the sorrow and grief because it's belonged to the Karbala. If we belong to the Imam Hussain, we must show our sorrow and grief for Imam Hussain on that day, especially in the month of Mohurram. Because we are his friend. We're supposed to be sad when they are sad. We're supposed to be happy when they are happy. That is the message. Right? So inshallah, I conclude my Majalis today. Whatever we learn, keep in your mind. We have to get as close as possible to Imam Hussain by adopting his attribute, doing special things for him, special recitings there, visiting his grave, doing some type of good work for him during month of Mohurram. So get his prayer for us. And as soon as we get from him dua or blessings, that make us successful in this world and we able to enter from the door which called the door of Imam Hussain, or Imam Hussain actually himself is door of paradise, and he can take us to the paradise. And that's Imam did on day of Ashura, right, before the night of like the 10th Mohurram, on 9th Mohurram night, Imam Hussain gathered his all the followers and showing the place of their living in the Jannah, where they're going to live in Jannah. Imam showed them the place. But say, Maula, we are not sacrificing our life for the paradise. We are sacrificing our life for sake of you, Imam Hussain. That is the love. Imam Hussain want to see from his followers. We don't want to like just do something for the paradise or worldly benefits, something. No, because we love Imam Hussain, to live for him. We get something or not. Because if we live like that, then we're going to get much more than what we are actually wishing for that. That's the main thing you have to keep in your mind. But today is the 3rd Mohurram. We have many shaheed. We cannot discuss or recite the Masaib of all of them. Because as soon as the 5th Mohurram passes by, we start reciting the Masaib of family member of Imam Hussain. From Ali Akbar, from Hazrat Qasim, from Hazrat Ono Muhammad, from Hazrat Abbas, and like that. But these beginning days, they are related to the followers of Imam Hussain. Many followers come to the Karbala and they sacrifice their life. Among them, one of called Habib ibn Mazahir. Habib ibn Mazahir is the old friend of Imam Hussain. You see what was the story? Very famous story. Mazahir was the friend of Prophet. One day, Mazahir invited Prophet to visit him, and he actually invited him for food to eat with him, right? But Hazrat Habib was so curious, he was so much excited, so he was waiting for Imam Hussain, because when Prophet going to visit his house, they're going to bring Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain was friend of Hazrat Habib, so Habib was waiting from whole day. He was going up on his roof, looking where Imam Hussain is coming or not, coming down, going up, coming down, and suddenly doing this thing, he fell down from roof. When he fell down from roof, he died right there. Habib was dead. Mazahir, father of Habib, invited the Prophet and his family to eat with him. So if I convey this news to the Prophet, then Prophet not going to eat, because he said, because you have death in your house, how can we eat with you? So he hid the body of the Habib in one of his room, and he spreaded the sufra, and he was waiting for Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain and Prophet to eat. As soon as the food was ready, and Mazahir said, "Oh Prophet, eat." Prophet said, "Okay, start." Imam Hussain said, "Where is Habib, my friend? I'm not going to eat without him." Prophet said, "No, he may be playing outside, you can eat, please." Mazahir said, "He is going to come, you eat." So Imam Hussain said, "No, we're not going to eat without him. He's our best friend." Then Mazahir started crying. He said, "He's not going to come and eat with you anymore, because he's already dead. He was so excited for you, he was going on the roof and coming down, and he fell down and he got killed." Then Imam Hussain started crying for his friend. As soon as the Prophet saw the tears in the eyes of Imam Hussain, he never liked it. So he said, "Oh my sons, don't cry," and asked the Mazahir to bring the body of Habib. As soon as they brought the body, Prophet raised his hand for prayer. "Oh Allah, for sake of me, make this boy alive again." Their prayer is so much powerful. Allah returned his soul in his body and he became alive. And they ate together. You know, when someone got the life from someone, he always obliged, always love him, always remember that thing. So Mazahir got his son, and Habib know his life is the gift of Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain never asked, "We're not going to eat without him." He never get his life. But you know, when Imam surrounded with the enemy is coming around from all the sides, right? And he's surrounded by the enemy. Bibi Fatma, Bibi Zainab asked, "Oh Hussain, oh my brother Hussain, they are much like the people coming from different sides. They are joining the army of Yazid to kill us. Do you have any friend to come and help you in this situation?" What Imam Hussain said? "Yes, I have friend. He live in Kufa. Let me send someone to invite him to help me." And he sent a messenger. Messenger reached to Kufa. Hazrat Habib was sitting with his wife eating. Suddenly someone knocked on the door. Habib stopped eating. He got a letter. "Oh Rajul Faqih, oh knowledgeable person, are you not going to come for help of your friend, son of Fatima Zahra? He is surrounded by enemy in the Karbala." Habib hold his emotion. He was so emotional at the time. He want to ask something from his wife. His wife asked, Who was that? What message he brought? And Habib answered, he was the messenger of Imam Hussain, son of Bibi Fatima. So what he wrote? He wrote, he's surrounded by the enemy. So what are you going to do? He said, I'm thinking, if I leave you alone, then who's going to take care of you? And Habib's wife was become so much upset. She said, if you're not going to help him, then I'm going to go and help him. He said, I want to just hear that thing. You also have love of Imam Hussain. I'm surely going to go and visit my friend and help him. Habib ibn Mazahir, he unable to come because the Kufa was surrounded by the enemy. Yazid's army is not allowing anyone to come from the Kufa and help Imam Hussain, join Imam Hussain. So I have difficult moment. So Kufa was surrounded. So he sent first his one of his the slave to stand outside and wait for him, and he came from a secret the way to come out and join his Ghulam, his son. And then he reached to the Karbala. As soon as Imam Hussain heard the news, he sent the news to his sister Bibi Zainab. She felt some comfort. And as soon as Bibi Zainab heard Habib came for the help of Imam Hussain, she was so much pleased and she sent salam to Habib. As soon as Habib received salam from daughter of Imam Ali, he was so much the emotional. He said, why I reached to the place when we supposed to send salam to the Ahlul Bayt, but now the Bibi Zainab is sending salam for me. She started crying. But when the Ashura began, the people start sacrificing their life. Habib was old person. He was also ready to fight and give his life for sake of Imam Hussain, for sake of religion. He went and started fighting. When he fighting, he was also thirsty and hungry. He got killed. After the killing, they put all the heads on the spear. That's the last moment. Listen carefully. Habib had a very young son like you, 10, 11-year-old. He was in the Kufa. When they killed the Habib, they cut his head from his body, left the body in the Karbala, and they put the head on the spear. But Habib's head was not standing on the spear. So they tied the head of Habib ibn Mazahir in the neck of one of the horse. Well, they tied the head of Hazrat Habib ibn Mazahir in the neck of the one horse, and horse was moving. When the caravan reached to the Kufa, where Habib was living in the Kufa, people came for seeing the Ahlul Bayt, how they brought them, and then one young boy started walking behind that horse. So looking at the head, tried to recognize who is that person. And he recognized, he saw, this is my father. And the young boy started walking behind that horse, looking at his father's head and asking from the person who is carrying the horse, give my father's head to me so I can bury my father. He was crying, a young orphan child, walking behind that head, demanding that head to receive from that person and bury it. When he walked, the person who is in charge of that head, he was denying. He said, no, I'm not going to give you this head. But this person, the young boy, son of Habib ibn Mazahir, he was crying, asking for that. Suddenly, what he heard, the voice is coming out from the head of Habib ibn Mazahir. What he's saying, oh my son, you are just willing to bury me. I am the slave of Imam Hussain. First, go and bury the son of Bibi Fatima. His body is lying on the ground of Karbala. No one is there to bury him. I wish someone buried my master Hussain first. Then you can think about my burial. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma rizqna imanan sadiqa wa lisanan zakira wa qalban khashi'a wa badanan sabira wa ilman nafi'a wa amalan mutaqabbala wa rizqan wasi'a wa zawjatan salihah wa waladan salih. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah, assalamu alayka ya Nabiullah, assalamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'minin, assalamu alayka ya Fatimah al-Zahra, assalamu alayka ya Hasan al-Mujtaba, assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, assalamu alayka ya Ibn Rasulillah, assalamu alayka wa ala jaddika wa bik, assalamu alayka wa lammika wa akhika, assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alayka ya Mawla Abul Fadl Abbas, ya Khamr bani Hashim, ya Ibn Amir al-Mu'minin wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alayka bint Rasulillah, assalamu alayka bint Nabiullah.